would like to thank Robert Graham and Brandon042 for having everybody here tonight and putting this event on. I am going to introduce all of the candidates, and I will give everybody the chance to come up and speak. And once that is over, if you would like to hang around and talk, then we will give you about 30 minutes or so to do that. So first up tonight, we're going to begin with the Alderman race in Ward 1. There are 3 candidates. One is running as a Democrat, one is independent, and one as the incumbent Republican. Therefore, this race will go to the general election on June the 8th. We have Jared Crane, and he will be running as an independent, and he is not able to attend tonight. Vicky Jones. If you would like to come up and speak, you can.
Good evening. Good evening. It is a pleasure to be here, and I just want to introduce myself. Not going to take up much of your time. My name is Vicky Jones. I was born and raised in Brandon, Mississippi, up on Highway 471. I've lived in Ward 1 for approximately 20 years. I'm a product of Brandon High School, Wesley Biblical College in Florence, Mississippi, and Belhaven University. My children, I have 2 sons who were products of Brandon school system. I have a granddaughter now that's in Rouse Elementary. I've been married for 26 years. So yeah, it's up there. Just wanted to tell you my concerns. My concerns in Ward 1 is that we don't see enough of taxpayer money funneled into Ward 1 so that the constituents there will have a better quality of life. It's been basic life for the last 20 years, so I'm thinking that I need to get in there and do something to help Ward 1, but not only Ward 1, the city of Brandon, period. We need more diversity in Brandon, and I think I will be that person that would advocate for that, and for Ward 1 and for the city of Brandon. I'm running on a platform of transparency. One thing that Ward 1 will never have to worry about is if I'm being transparent with them, if I'm doing my job, if I'm going to answer their calls, am I going to listen to their concerns and take those concerns back to the administration? And they'll know that I'm always going to vote in the best interest of Ward 1, and they'll know that I'm for them. And when things don't go, that's why I say I'm not making big promises that I know or I don't know if I could make them. But the promise I'll make is that I'll fight for Ward 1. I vote in their interests. And when things don't go the way Ward 1 wants them to go, then the whole administration will have to be accountable to them. My name is Vicky Jones, Vicky Palmer Jones, and I'm running for Alderman for Ward 1. My platform is transparency, integrity, and dedication to Ward 1 in the city of Brandon. And I'm thinking that Ward 1 is ready for a change. They're ready for someone who's going to do exactly what they promised to do.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jones. Next, we will have Monica Parkman Corley. She will be the Republican incumbent for Alderman 1.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? I'm a little short, so I'm going to put this down here. So, as she said, my name is Monica Parkman Corley. My dad was Bobby Parkman, who owned appliance service in Brandon for over 40 years. I grew up on College Street, about 7 or 8 driveways down from where I currently live. My mom is Barbara Martin. She's very involved in church and community still to this day in Brandon. I'm married to Stephen Corley, who is full-time in the Army, and so we have chosen to stay in Brandon all of these years because it's where I grew up. The sense of community here is obviously something that not just every city has. And so to be a city of the size of Brandon, to be able to maintain the sense of community that we have is something that's very special. And as I talk to people throughout the whole entire city, that's something that people always want to make sure that is preserved, and I agree with that completely. A little bit more about myself. I graduated from Brandon High School in 1989, so you can do the math and figure out about how old I am. But I have continued my education at Belhaven University with a bachelor's degree in business administration, and then I went on to obtain my master's degree from Mississippi College in educational leadership. I've worked for the Rankin County School District for over 22 years. Throughout that time, I've always been very active in different organizations, volunteer things, etc. And then I've been alderman in the city of Brandon now for Ward 1 for about 12 years. And I know that may sound like a long time, but keep in mind that as a new alderman, people spend a lot of time learning the complex and intricate details of just how everything works. And so I feel very comfortable in where I am in my career as alderman as far as being able to adequately serve everyone here, not just in our ward, but the city as a whole, because that's what each alderman does, is serves the city as a whole. So I get asked a lot of time, especially being in education, my students, other adults that I know see my signs and they say, by the way, what does an alderman do? And I felt like that was a really important question to take a moment to answer. An alderman, alderwoman, whichever term you'd like to use, is basically a representative of their ward. We're a voice, we're an advocate. Not everyone is comfortable contacting the mayor or the city or trying to get something done, or sometimes they do contact the city trying to get maybe a pothole filled or to get their drainage ditch addressed or something like that, and they just don't necessarily know the right way to communicate, or maybe there's an issue there, and so then they reach out to us and they contact us to be their voice and to be their advocate. And there are numerous people throughout our ward who can attest to the fact that I am constantly out meeting with my constituents when it comes to their issues concerning their drainage ditches and whether or not waste management has done what they were supposed to, or whether or not everything is flowing properly on our side of town. So we deal with issues like that. Obviously, we are the voting mechanism for city government. We are in charge of voting on policy and law for the city, helping to form the budget for the city, helping to determine the policies and the priorities of work for the city. And then, of course, the mayor executes the day-to-day work based on what we all discuss and plan out. So why I ran for alderman is something that I think is very important for people to know. I was one of those people who was a homeowner and a property owner, and there was a major problem at my home. There was a sinkhole that had formed in my yard and under my neighbor's driveway that was huge, and I kept hitting dead ends with my alderman at the time 12 years ago when it came to getting assistance. And that was obviously a problem that was way bigger than me. And so I reached out to my alderman at large at the time, since I was hitting a stop sign with my other alderman, and the alderman at large helped me, got the right city personnel out there. They were able to dig up, find the old drainage line that had been abandoned, that had duct tape over it from 25 years ago when that subdivision was developed and not done very well. And they were able to dig all of that up. They were able to fix it and make repairs and make everything new again. And that was when I knew that that was something that I wanted and needed to do. I needed to be a voice for people who had those types of issues, especially on their property. Homeowners and taxpayers obviously hold a special place in the city because they have got to have a voice for making sure that their property value is maintained and that they can get help on their property when they need it. So that is why I ran for alderman, and that is why I'm continuing to run for alderman as a way of serving people, but especially homeowners. So the next thing I would like to address is, who is Brandon? And who do we want Brandon to be? What do we want Brandon to be? We don't want to be Madison. Madison is wonderful. Madison is beautiful. But we don't want to be Madison because Madison is very cookie cutter. And we don't want to be that. Well, do we want to be Flowood, where we have all big box stores and retails? No, we don't want to be that either. Somewhere in the middle, there's this great combination of large and small, old and new. And that's where I see Brandon, is finding a good balance between all of those types of businesses that are here, not to mention maintaining that sense of community that I mentioned earlier, making sure that we continue to have a Christmas parade that the people from Flowood and Pearl want to come and watch because it's so fantastic. And other events like that, the Gumbo Festival, whatever it may be, those things that we do that define us as a small hometown feel, even though we're not so small anymore, those are the things that we want to make sure that we maintain. I have found that basically being here in Brandon, it's almost like owning an older home, which I can say I do. My home was built in '39, and we have renovated our home from top to bottom in the last 11 years that we've been there. And so it's like having an older home. You want to maintain the character of that older home, but you want to upgrade the structure in your home to reflect newness. But it shouldn't look new because it was built in '39. So you have to find a way to marry that old and that new. And that's what I see that we do in Brandon all the time. I feel like we have to make it a priority for maintaining property value in Brandon. I own a home, so I feel the importance of that. I don't know that everybody who is running for election here owns a home and knows what it means to protect the property value of homeowners and the people who pay taxes every day on their property. So I would encourage you to make sure before you vote for someone that you know where they stand on that. As far as accomplishments are concerned, I feel like my record speaks for itself. We have done tremendous things in the last 10 to 12 years. We have paved many roads. We have installed 2 new water tanks just recently. We've installed new water wells. We are in the process of rehabbing a lot of our city infrastructure. We have a plan for that moving forward. That's another thing I would encourage you, no matter who you're voting for, no matter what race it is, you ask your person that you're speaking to what is their specific plan for rehabbing the infrastructure of this city. If they don't have one and if they can't answer that, then you need to reconsider your plan to vote for that person. So we have a plan for that. We, being the mayor and the current board, we have that mapped out. We understand how important it is to continue doing things that are pro-Brandon, that will continue to attract businesses here. That is something that's very important. The rehab that we have done over the last many years in Parks and Rec, where we are now attracting huge tournaments. There were 149 teams in Brandon last weekend. Not people, 149 teams in Brandon last weekend doing tournaments. That's phenomenal. Those people are spending their money here. They're stopping at our restaurants. They are spending their tax dollars here, and then they go home afterwards, and we reap the benefit of that. That is huge. That's important, and we want to continue that work. So again, why should you vote for me? I have a proven track record. I also practice transparency. The whole city does. We've begun live streaming our meetings. You can always contact us. My phone number is on our city website, as it should be. I am truly characterized and described as someone of great strength and tenacity. I feel like I'm a bulldog, and anyone who knows me can attest to that, because when I go after something, I'm going to go after it 110%, and I will not stop until the right thing has happened. I have vision for the future of this city, and most importantly, I still maintain a servant's heart, just like I've always had and will continue to have for all of the citizens in Ward 1 and in the city of Brandon. So I ask you for your vote on June the 8th. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Next, we will move on to Ward 2. We have two candidates, both Republican, including the incumbent. First, we will have David Stevens.
Well, good evening. I'm David Stevens, running for Alderman Ward 2. I do want to address two questions that I get the most. One, first of all, I am not related to the realtor in Clinton, and I'm not related to Lance Stevens here in Brandon, even though they spell the name right. I actually moved with my family here in 1994. The same reason many of you moved here is for the quality of schools, the quality of life. Brandon is a great hometown. You can't go anywhere in the city without seeing somebody you know. My background, I started at work in state government with the Mississippi Department of Revenue. This was a tax commission at the time. I worked for a man named Lester Harrington, and I was fortunate enough to get a job offer in Atlanta. So I moved to Atlanta with PricewaterhouseCoopers. And then I was blessed, after working there a while, to get an offer to relocate to Mississippi with KPMG. And then again, when we moved back, we chose Brandon as our hometown. And really my roots with Rankin County go back even further than that. My great-great-grandfather, where I got my middle name from, was actually a farmer in the late 1800s down in Cato, just south of town. My background, I currently have my own practice where I service companies from the Fortune 100, some of the largest ones on the coast, to your mom and pop sole proprietors. And working with, over the years, reality, the thing that I've learned the most is that people and clients expect a straight talk, maybe not at the beginning of the conversation because you may be telling them something they don't want to hear. But at the end of the day, they appreciate straight talk and a common sense approach to solving their challenges. I won't say problems, say challenges, and helping them achieve their opportunities. So, and like I said, the thing about it is straight talk, because if you start blowing smoke, people see right through it, and you lose credibility. Once you lose credibility, it's hard to get it back. In my race, I'm fortunate that I like my opponent. Chris is a great guy and has a fantastic family. He's been unopposed since 2009. And believe me, that caused me to really think through my decision to run. And the reason why I'm running is I believe I can bring a different skill set to the board. My background with CPA, doing the consulting, to help the board address some challenges we're going to face. We're a growing city. We're going to face some challenges with the infrastructure, with the bonds and the debt level. Also, we're going to have opportunities. Our opportunities are going to be with economic growth. I agree with Monica. We don't want to be Madison. We don't want to be Flowood. We want to be branded with smart growth. The challenge we have, let's put it out there. The challenge we have is Brandon is the 15th largest city based on population. The 15th largest city in Mississippi. Yet our budget is the smallest of the 15. And it's smaller than a lot of cities with half our population. Right now, the majority of our budget is funded by residents, our homes, or some politicians say rooftops. Well, other cities have a larger commercial base, larger retail, because on retail, they pay the sales tax. The city gets 18.5% of the sales tax that business collects. So we must focus on expanding our commercial and retail base with smart, don't just recruit anything, recruit things that make our city better and provide the amenities our citizens want. So with that, my 3 points generally are, economic growth to help, reduce our burden on our citizens, working to make our city more financially responsible with our budget and our debt, and then supporting our first responders. Because in reality, the first responders are the reason why we're the second safest city in the state. And while our fire ratings are low, are good to where it helps us on our homeowners insurance. So a couple of specifics, I'll give some examples. I do have some recommendations that I'll present to the board after the election about things we can do with our budget. Whether it's, me being fortunate enough to be elected or with your vote, or maybe me as a private citizen. But I think it's positive changes we can make to improve our stuff going forward. On economic development, just give you one example. Brandon really needs a modern brand, national brand hotel, a Marriott or a Hilton. And you say, is that really economic growth? Well, it's an indicator. It's not the solution. Our solution goes beyond that on expanding the development on the 18 corridor and on the east end of town with the Grants Ferry Parkway area. There's a lot of opportunity there. We're doing a great job in downtown. I mean, you go there on a Friday or Saturday night, and it's a lot of people out. Used to, we'd roll up the sidewalks at night. So we're making a lot of progress. But going back to the hotel, well, what that will do is the people that come into concerts, the people that come into the tournaments, or even the residents, here. So if your daughter or your son's getting married, and you're going to have it at a church in Brandon, right now, if you have people coming in from out of town, you got to book a block of rooms outside the city. The quality hotel will bring in additional tax dollars because they'll spend the night here. They'll pay the 2% tax on the restaurant in the hotel. They'll collect the 3% tax, which that goes toward paying down the debt at the amphitheater. So, I'll be around a little while, so I know my time's getting close. So what I would say is that I would appreciate your consideration in your vote on Tuesday. And if elected, just have an open door. You'll have my cell phone number. If you have any concerns, any questions, give me a call. With that, I'll say thanks.
Thank you, David. Next, we will have Chris Vincent. He is the Republican incumbent for Ward 2.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Chris Vincent, and I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Brandon. I am married to my wife, Serena, for over 25 years, and we have 2 daughters, Ansby and Stella. I have a bachelor's in business administration with an emphasis in accounting, and I have owned and operated my own small business inside the city limits for almost 20 years. I'm currently serving as an alderman for Ward 2. During my time on the board, we have addressed many issues, and we have made lots of progress. We have addressed issues in infrastructure, public safety, quality of life, and our finances. We have built 2 new water towers recently. We have drilled 2 new water wells. We have paved over 30 miles of streets in the last 2 years. We have compiled and adopted a long-term comprehensive plan to address our water, sewer, and street issues. We've also built 3 new fire stations, 2 in Ward 2. The combination of these fire stations, along with our increased water capacity, has allowed the citizens of Brandon that own property to keep their insurance premiums low due to a lower fire rating. We've bought 36 new police cars in the last 8 years using drug seizure fund and general fund money. The previous 5 years before that, there were 0 police cars purchased for the City of Brandon Police Department. We've passed 2 referendums, a 2% prepared food referendum and the alcohol referendum. Both passed by around 70% of the voters. The 2 of those combined have allowed us to, as a board, to adopt policies to create and attract quality restaurants, quality retail. And it's also given us the opportunity to provide the best facilities in the country for our kids and our families for outdoor activities. Lastly, our finances. I'm not sure how many of y'all have seen the latest audit. The year before I was on the board, elected to the board, our ending cash balance fund was a negative $791,000. This past year, we finished the ending cash balance with over $8 million. Those things will allow us to move forward. It'll allow us to address infrastructure. It will allow us to address public safety. It will allow us to address Parks and Rec without having to borrow large sums of money. Our infrastructure is getting there. Our police department is the best. Our fire department is the best. Our public works department and Parks and Rec departments are the best. I'm asking that on April 6th, you consider me and vote for me so we can continue to move forward in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next, we have Ward 3. We only have one candidate. He is our Republican incumbent, Harry Williams.
Thank you. My name is Harry Williams. I'm the current Alderman of Ward 3. I'm humbled to be unopposed this time, which makes me feel good that, as I told somebody earlier, either I'm doing a good job or they're like, well, if he's crazy enough to continue to do it, let him have it. So anyway, but I'm looking forward to working with the next board, next mayor, to continue the successes that the city of Brandon has had the past 8 years, 4 years, I mean, however you want to approach it. But I just want to once again say I'm humbled. Thank you to the citizens of Ward 3 for trusting me to continue to represent you for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Ward 4. We have 2 candidates, both Republican, including the incumbent, Brantley Mitchell.
You're doing such a good job.
Thank you.
Hey, how's everybody doing this evening? Good. So, you know, my wife here, school teacher at Brandon, has had this, nice little speech prepared and all. And, you know, we're going to go off script a little bit. Again, my name is Brantley Mitchell. I'm asking for the vote here at Ward 4. But not only Ward 4, I'm here to support the city of Brandon. Like Monica talked about, Chris has talked about, you know, I'm here running for reasons of my own. My reasons somewhat kind of remind me of Monica's. Hey, I've had problems after problems of where I live at in my ward. I've called the city, I've reached out to my alderman, hadn't had any luck. So talking with neighbors and people inside of Brandon that I've known for years have, you know, basically said the same thing. Hey, we can sit here and deal with it, or you can run for alderman and see if we can change the office. So, you know, I'd love to get up here and say that, you know, I have all of these college degrees and, you know, things like other people, but I don't. You know, I'm just an average working man that has had different positions with cities out of Montrose, Colorado. I've owned a plumbing business right here in Brandon, so some of the infrastructure that we've talked about, I know a little bit about. I work for a little company called Victoria's Secrets. Some of you ladies, most of you men would know what that is. But of course, you know, with the experiences and the different companies that I've worked for, with those type of issues that I've had to deal with snow and everything else at the city when we have the tourism, talking with men and ladies and, you know, the time of presence and all with Victoria's Secrets, you know, that's what molded me into the person that I am now. You know, I work in the retail business. I've been in the retail business for many years. I deal with different people, different walks of life every day. You know, one thing that I hear over and over and over, transparency. Hey, our infrastructure. Hey, we got to have a plan. Well, great. We can sit here and talk about it, or we can sit here and make changes. You know, somebody spoke earlier of, hey, we've addressed this and we've addressed that, but addressing it does not mean that it's been fixed. So if we're going to sit here and talk about the things that we need to talk about in the places that we need Brandon to go, we need to quit talking about it and addressing it, come together as a whole and fix the problem. So I'm humbly asking for your vote on April the 6th for Alderman of Ward 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Brantley. Our incumbent with Ward 4 is Lou Coker, and there was a schedule conflict. So we will move on to Ward 5. In Ward 5, we have only one candidate, a Republican incumbent, Dwight Middleton, and Dwight also had a conflict. In Ward 6, we have two Republican candidates, including the incumbent, Clay Weeks.
Hello, Clay Weeks, running for Alderman in Ward 6. I've been in Brandon about 37 years. Parents moved here, military contractor. Went to Brandon Academy. Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. Went to Brandon Academy. Have always wanted to get off in city politics, and have always loved being in Brandon. Two of my kids live here. My daughter and her husband just built a house. So they're in Ward 6, and Ward 6 is where our heart is. It's where we want to be. It's where we want to raise our family, our grandkids. I'm running because of the Parkway and other reasons, but the Parkway's coming right through my neighborhood. I want to make sure it's done right. That is the future development of Brandon right there, and I want to be a part of that. Make sure we get it right. Make sure we don't have any mistakes. Make sure we get good housing in there. We've worked hard to get the home values up. Been a home builder for 20 years, but we've worked really hard to get the values of our square footage up on our homes, and don't want to see smaller homes come in and take that away from us. We just really want really nice stuff on the Parkway to make Brandon better. As far as that goes, I'm really confused. Sorry. I have been working with S&S Builders for 4 years. We've built probably 400 plus houses in the Rankin County, Florence area, and we really work hard for the people and try to do a good job for them, try to keep them happy, and that's what I'm going to do for Ward 6. If you call me, I'm going to come out, I'm going to answer your call, I'm going to be at your door, I'm going to look at your problem, be it your ditch, be it anything you have that may be of a concern to the city to you. If it's not, I'm going to be honest and I'm going to tell you, and we're going to move forward. I'm always going to be honest with you. I'm always going to work hard for you. I'm not going to not call you back and follow up. I'm not going to defer to the next person down the line. I'm going to be there from the very first time you contact me in Ward 6 till your problem is rectified. We may not always be able to rectify it to make you happy, but I'm going to stay with you to the end, and I'm going to work hard to make you happy, as long as it's within the guidelines of the city and what I can do. When you get out and vote April the 6th, please consider me, and I'm going to work hard for you. I can't say that enough. It's what I do every day, so please consider me on April 6th. Thank you.
Thank you, Clay. Next is Tanya Dobbs. She was unable to make it tonight. Next, we will do the Alderman at Large. And the Alderman at Large race, we have 3 candidates, all Republican. The primary race is Tuesday, April 6th. This race may be subject to a runoff that would be held on April the 27th. First, we will have Eric Fox. Is he not here? Okay, I do not believe Mr. Fox is here. So we will move on to Michael Mann.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Mann. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Brandon. My family moved here when I was approximately 2 to 3 years old, and that was in 1966, I believe. I graduated from Brandon, attended Hines Junior College, went on to sheet metal workers training school to learn the art of metal fabrication. Started to work in 1984 with Leonard Metal Fabricators, and I have progressed. I'm still employed there. I've progressed to president and co-owner of the business at this time. With my business experience dealing with multiple agencies, some of them are local companies, some of them are worldwide companies. I have no problem sitting down discussing contracts, dealing with people, because I've been having to do it most of my life at this business. Back in 1982, I joined the Brandon Volunteer Fire Department. And at that time, Brandon, all they had was a volunteer fire department. Served on the fire department diligently for over 2 decades. We helped, when I say we, all the volunteers that served on the fire department with me, we helped develop the fire department to where it is today. We set a lot of the groundwork. While we were volunteers, we had a low class rating also for the homeowner's insurance policy. Through the last 4-5 weeks about talking with people on a daily basis, there's a lot of questions that's been brought up to me. One of them is the water bills. If you sit down and look at your water bills, there's several different areas on that water bill that really needs to be addressed. And if I'm elected to this position as Alderman at Large, those are some areas that I would like to act upon, not address, act upon, find out what we can do better. And I believe we can do better on a lot of those areas. Another thing that's been brought to my attention, I hear a lot of pros and cons about the amphitheater. The amphitheater is here. It's not going anywhere. Let's make it profitable for the city. Let's use it to improve our economic growth for the city. Use that as our draw to get this going. Make it more beneficial for us. And when you get economic growth and business-wise, you've got residential. Being in Brandon as long as I have, I've seen Brandon from a one red light town to where it is now. Business and residential can live and work together. It just takes time and patience and proper planning. There's going to be some people get mad either which way, but you're not going to be able to please everybody. But if you please most of the people, it would help. And more commercial growth, more business growth in the city will hopefully defer any tax increases. And more commercial and business growth, we get more tax base, we can do more on the infrastructure without borrowing money. We can, when I say infrastructure, police department, fire department, roads, water system, parks and recreation. we're right on the edge of busting loose with everything that we've got with what's going on in the city of Brandon. Everything's up and growing. The Parks and Recreation looks great. We have the amphitheater. We just need just a little bit more boost. We need, as people said before me, restaurants. We need hotels. That's something that I would work diligently to try to get here in the city of Brandon. And I'm running on a platform that your concerns will be heard. That's true and dear to me. If somebody calls me with a question or a concern, I will get to the bottom of it. In my business, you can talk to anybody that does business with me. If I don't know something, I will get on the phone and call and ask a question to get an answer. And I will get an answer for the citizens of Brandon. I'm here to serve the citizens of Brandon, and that's my passion. I've been here all my life, and I'm not planning on going anywhere. So I ask for your support on April 6th. Mike Mann, Alderman at Large. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. We also have Sharon Womack. She was unable to attend as she had a conflict tonight. Last, we will do the mayor's race. We have 4 candidates in the mayor's election. The candidates consist of 3 Republicans, including the incumbent, and 1 independent. Eric Baldwin is a Republican candidate, and he was unable to attend tonight due to a conflict. Farrah Cox.
Hello. I think most of y'all know me by now because this is my second time to run for mayor, but I am Farrah Cox. I am a Republican, but I chose to run as an independent this time around for several reasons, and let me explain those to you first before I get into who I am and why I'm running again. I knew that there would be likely multiple candidates in the Republican primary, and when you get into a situation where you have 3 or more candidates in a primary, it splits the votes. It doesn't serve the public well at all, and it doesn't really truly become an election about the issues. It becomes a popularity contest and who has the biggest Sunday school group and whose church turns up for them and that sort of thing. And I've been in politics all of my life. I was raised in it. I still work in it. And for me, an election is about the issues, not just who has the most people show up for them on election day who are their buddies. So that was one reason why I chose to run as an independent, and 2, because it would put me in the general election on June the 8th as opposed to the primary on April 6th or possibly a runoff 2 weeks later. I wanted as much time as I could get to meet as many of you as I could and to talk with as many of you as I could about what I can do for the city of Brandon. And when I say that I'm running as an independent, I also did that to put my actions where my mouth is, and that I will be a mayor for everyone, not just certain people, not just certain parts of Brandon. When I say I will be mayor for Brandon, I will truly be mayor for everyone. I don't care if you agree with me or not. I don't care if you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, a liberal, Constitution Party, Reform Party, Green Party, Purple Party. I don't care. You are a citizen of Brandon, and it is my job as your mayor to represent you and to make the city better for you, for all of us. So that is why I chose to run as an independent. I am originally from the Delta. My husband and I met in college. We moved here in 1998 and chose to start our life and have our life in Brandon, make Brandon our new home. It's where we've raised our son. He graduated from Brandon High School. He attends Millsaps College now, and it's where we've chosen to stay. It became our new home, and that is why I ran for Alderman in 2009 and met my good friend Harry Williams, who represents us in Ward 3. We love him to death. And why I ran for mayor in 2017, because I saw things that I, as a citizen, had concerns about, things I wanted to see done that the current administration was not handling, and I knew I could take care of. I still have those concerns and more 4 years later. So that is why I'm still running again, because I still care. It would be easy to say my son is out of school, I don't need to stay in Brandon anymore, I'm not happy with the way things are going overall, so I'll just go somewhere else. But this is our home, this is where we've chosen to be. This is where I want to invest my time and my efforts, and I believe in putting, not just complaining. If you're going to complain, be willing to do something about it, and I'm most definitely willing to do something about it. So I currently work for the state of Mississippi. My husband does too. We have been longtime state employees. We have public servant hearts. We have made an adult lifetime career of helping others, serving our state. And I have a bachelor's degree in history with an emphasis in in political science, a master's degree in public administration with an emphasis in public management. And as I said, I've got almost 17 total years with the state government. I'm very well aware of how government works, budgets, lobbying the legislature for help that we need, such as lobbying MDOT to help us with our roads that are state highways that the city is somewhat controlled of what they can do because it is a state highway. They've got to approve it first. Things like that. So I come prepared with a wealth of knowledge of how to run government, how to manage a city, how to manage the employees. And I also have a real estate broker license. I've been a real estate licensee for 20 years. I understand how to bring businesses in, how to negotiate those deals, the ins and outs of all those contracts. And as in my real estate career, when I was full-time doing that, I won customer service awards. And that's not an easy industry to win customer service awards in. I will bring that award-winning customer service to all of your city departments so that when you call about a water bill or you call about any type of issue that you may be having, no matter which city department it is, you will get excellent customer service and we will get to the root of your problem and help you. You've heard a lot of talk tonight about bringing new businesses. We need new businesses. Yes, every city needs new business. Every city must have growth in order to sustain. But at the same time, for the longest time, when we moved here, 23, 24 years ago, Brandon has had a reputation of being a bedroom community or a retirement community. I remember when we moved here, it was touted as being one of the best places to retire to. It was not promoted as being a business or as a magnet for business and wanting to draw business in. That's only changed in recent years. That's fine. Certainly people can change and have new priorities and things like that, and the city can. I'm not saying that they can't. But when you have the same leader who's had a reputation of being difficult to work with or being anti-business or stringent with business, a lot of red tape and that sort of thing, that does not commute well to the rest of the business world, that all of a sudden now you're pro-business and you want them to come in. If you want to project that, you have got to change the face of your city government, and ideally with someone who understands business and has been in that. And at the same time, while you're bringing in new business, you have got to support your current businesses. We don't need empty businesses and buildings around vacated while we're touting all this new business. It doesn't look good to any incoming new business. You've got to promote you've got to support your current businesses. And as mayor, I will not only support them, I will help promote them. I will feature a Brandon business every week to make sure that all of Brandon knows who we have in town, what their services are, especially a lot of the downtown businesses that are off side streets and that sort of thing. You may not even know exist, much less what they do. And so that's just the very least that the city could do to support their current businesses. And it seems to me, and I'm sure you've seen too, certain businesses in certain parts of town get a lot of attention or get the red carpet rollout when a new restaurant is opened downtown, not necessarily over, say, the west side of town. And that's not fair. A business is a business. They should all have the support of the city that they have chosen to locate in, because we're grateful for every single one of them. And about our infrastructure, yes, I understand that there's a plan going forward, and that's great. We need to have a plan. We have aging pipes, aging water lines, aging sewage lines. our mayor has known that these lines were 50 years old, had a lifespan of 50 years, and they have gone beyond that and are 55, getting close to 60 years old now. We've got these two wonderful new water towers, especially one over in Crossgates, which is where I live, that did increase our water pressure, and that's great. We're happy for that, but those aging pipes cannot take that extra pressure, and they have started having sewage and water line breaks. Then we have to have an emergency repair. There's money that wasn't planned for. There's a loss of water pressure, possible boil water notice, and then just the aggravation of you don't have water for at least a few hours, maybe a day or two, and that sort of thing. We don't expect to have that. Now, is it pretty? Is it glamorous to replace lines? No, it's not. But do you really want sewage backing up into your house or in your yard? No. But yet we've borrowed money to pave streets, and that's great, but we're going to have to dig up those pretty streets to replace the lines underneath. And when you're replacing your infrastructure, go from the ground under first and then build on top of it. Otherwise, you've wasted that money that you borrowed to pave that street just to dig it up, to replace that line, to repave it again, which then it's going to have a seam, water's going to get underneath it, it's going to break up. I would much rather drive on a bumpy road than I would to have sewage backing up in my house or in my yard or not have water and that sort of thing. You know, the mayor's job is to sustain the city, sustain the quality of life that we have. That includes our water supply, that includes our fire rating, things like that. Building the water towers maintained that water supply instead of us maxing out and the Department of Health shutting it down because we can't take on more. You want to do something for us, build us another water tower to add to that so we can bring in more, not just sustain what we have. You build the new fire stations, and he's quick to brag about that. That's great too, but that maintained our fire rating. It did not improve our fire rating. We needed probably another fire station to move ahead with that and to further lower insurance rates. And two, speaking of our fire departments and our police departments are outstanding. They deserve to be paid as such. It's unfortunate that they can go to neighboring towns and get paid more. We need them just as much as any other town does. And if they are here, we should support them. We should pay them what they're worth. And so there's that. I will protect homeowners and their property values. I know in Crossgates we have a group home coming in that it will house several adult people who have mental or physical disabilities. It's a sort of a transition home for them, and that's great. We certainly would welcome that type of facility to Brandon, but not in the middle of a subdivision that is zoned single family when this is not a single family residence and where you have employees around the clock tending to these folks. There are better parts of town where that's more zoned for, that should be there, not in the middle of a subdivision when the homeowners around them don't want that, and it affects not their property value so much as their property desirability. When you go to sell, people find out they've got that next door. They may not want that sort of thing next door. So there's things like that that need to be taken care of and addressed that are not being addressed now. And then just the community events. There's more things that we could do around town to give people more things to do, from the people with young families to the older folks that are not just downtown. We need to spread it out. We need to bring back Brandon Day. If our surrounding communities can have their special days, we can too. I've heard a lot of criticism that the Brandon Day was done away with because it was losing money. Perhaps it was not being run properly if it was losing money. There are things you can do, and you can have your festivals, and you can not have them. You can have them free of charge. I meant to say you cannot charge for admission, and still not be spending thousands and thousands of dollars of the city budget and wasting money. It's not that hard. And if I have to pay for it out of my own pocket to have a Brandon Day to keep it from being a loss to the city, well, fine, then I will. Whatever it takes. Everybody's talked about transparency. I'm no different. You need to have your mayor accessible, and I will be accessible to you. I have I would love to talk to each and every one of you. There's certainly much more I could talk about that I will not take time to do tonight so that Bo can come up here and say a few words. But feel free to reach out to me anytime. I would love to talk to you. And again, please let me stress voting. City elections as a whole tend to have low voter turnout more than any other race, whether it be state or national. And this is where your vote matters the most. You have the most impact on the local level at your city and your county races. So please go vote. Please go choose your alderman on April 6th. Select your mayor if you want to on the Republican primary and see who I'm going to face on June 8th. And then please show back up on June the 8th and vote for mayor once and for all for Brandon. And if you're in Ward 1, for your alderman there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Butch Lee was unable to make it tonight, so we will move on to Bo Lucky.
Good afternoon. My name is Bo Lucky, and I'm running for mayor in the city of Brandon. For those of you who don't know me, I was born and raised here in Brandon, graduated from Brandon High School. Growing up in Brandon was one of the greatest things that could ever happen to me. I spent most of my time on the baseball fields at Shiloh Park, just like many do today. My father and my mother both still live in Brandon. My father is a retired state trooper. My mother retired from the county. So it's safe to say that public service and government work is all I've ever known. Myself, for the last 10 years, have been working for the Attorney General's office. Prior to that, my first job in my adult career was right here in the city of Brandon, at the Brandon Police Department. There I was a police officer, worked my way up the ranks to sergeant on patrol, commander of SWAT team. Then in 2008, I decided to go to law school. Went to Mississippi College School of Law. While in law school, I continued to be employed with the city of Brandon. After graduating law school was when I decided to move up to the Attorney General's office. Now at the Attorney General's office, for those of you that don't know a little bit about my background, at the Attorney General's office, I work for the Consumer Protection Division. I'm an investigator for white-collar crimes. Now what we do on a daily basis is we handle complaints on a statewide level, sometimes outside state on a federal level, dealing with sometimes millions of dollars of losses. That right there is key to my success here in the city of Brandon. That's something that sets me apart from most other candidates. Because see, what I've been doing for the last 10 years is when people come in, they bring in their financial reports, their financial statements. They say, look at this. Look at how much I've lost. Look at what's been done to me. I need help. My job is to go in, pick apart those financial statements, find out where the loss is, find out who did it, what happened to the money. Then we have to put this plan together to take it to a court and be successful in a prosecution. City of Brandon right now, financially, is not in a great place. That's one of my platforms, a more conservative government. In 2013, City of Brandon was around $28 million in debt. Currently, we're around $77 million in debt. Over the last 8 years, we've seen homeowners' taxes go up. We've seen our water rates go up. But what we haven't seen is substantial economic growth to try to support the city of Brandon. That's what we need. And I know this sounds redundant because a lot of the other candidates have spoken to the same thing. We need more substantial growth in the city of Brandon in order to alleviate the burden of taxes on the average homeowner. When I decided to run for mayor of Brandon, it was approximately 2 years ago. I was at a city hall meeting, and several other residents in the city of Brandon had the same concerns I did. We've got this amphitheater, we've got these amazing ball fields, but we don't see anything coming to help us with the city of Brandon as far as sales tax revenue. Many people asked in that same meeting, who is it that's going to take the bull by the horns and go out and sell our city? Same question I had, because like them, like many of you, we don't see it happening. We don't see substantial growth. After a while, the administration, the current administration, told one of the people, well, why don't you put a group of your friends together and go out and sell the city for us? That's not the answer that the citizens of Brandon need to hear. That's not the answer that the citizens of Brandon deserve to hear. When that gentleman asked, who's going to take the bull by the horns and sell our city? Show investors that we're worth a chance. Bring in more sales tax revenue. In my mind, I was thinking, me. I'm going to be that guy. I want to be that person. See, City of Brandon is number 2 safest city in the state of Mississippi. That's huge. On top of that, our school districts are among the best. People move to Brandon primarily for those two reasons. A safe city, and top of the line school system. Great education. That's why I live here. That's why I love living here. Also, people love the fact that we are still got that small hometown feel. I love it too. Whenever I speak of substantial growth, I don't talk about wanting to turn the city of Brandon into the next Flowood. We don't want a traffic nightmare on Highway 80, but there's plenty of areas where we can expand, where we can bring in more business. There's plenty of areas that it will not affect the traffic on Highway 80. The downtown projects are amazing. They look great, but we need more. They're not making a big enough difference, and that's evident in the current administration consistently raising our millage rate. Right now, our millage rate in the city of Brandon is 33 mills. City of Flowood's 20 mills. Millage rate doesn't just affect homeowners. It doesn't just affect your homeowner's taxes. It affects your vehicle. But it also affects business. Business owners don't want to pay excessive levels of taxes either. In my vision, I would love to see the city of Brandon improve its sales tax revenue to the point to where our budget can be more sufficiently supported through sales tax and not by the homeowners. I would like to eventually see, just like the city of Flowood did in the 90s, I would like to be able to look back and say, in the 2020s, my administration lowered the millage rate. Now, that's my goal. That's my dream. Another common problem I'm hearing about in the city of Brandon is the water. I've looked into it. I've talked to people who know about the water. I don't like paying the high water either. I can assure you that while I don't have the answer to the water rates and why they are as high as they are and how much we can help you with that, I can assure you that we will work on that. We will try to find some sort of relief in that area. It's my understanding, talking to several people that do know a lot about the water, there's not a whole lot of help that can be had there. Maybe a few dollars a month. It's also a concern of mine, though, that this new West Rankin water treatment plant is going to cause our rates to go up even more. To me, that's a problem. That's something that I really want to focus on, because as much as we pay right now, we don't want to pay a lot more. And I don't know how much more that's going to be. Like I said, my career started at City of Brandon Police Department, and for the last 16 years I've been in law enforcement. So it should be no surprise to anybody that I'm a huge advocate of our first responders. I've stayed in contact with many of them over the years, even though I left Brandon in 2011. And it's just not the same as it used to be. When I was a police officer in Brandon, we enjoyed our jobs. We loved our jobs. We enjoyed coming to work every day. most times, we weren't even allowed to make any overtime whenever we worked over. It was comp time. But yet we still had a stack of new applicants ready to go at the drop of a hat, and we were always full staff. That's not the case anymore. Our police and fire work hard every day to protect you and I. And it's time that a new administration comes in and takes care of our police and fire. As Farrah said, so many of our police officers and firefighters have left the city of Brandon to go to neighboring jurisdictions where they can make more money. That is a problem. That is a real problem. Anybody who has a career, of course they want to get paid well for that career, but that's not the only problem. A big problem with police and fire right now is the morale, and that's also seen every day when you see a patrol car pass and you don't recognize the face on the other side of the window. Just this morning, taking my children to school, I noticed a new face at College and 80. Have no clue who he is. Haven't seen him. Now you may wonder, how does this affect you? Because you're the #2 safest city in the state. Well, the way it affects you is not necessarily right now in the current moment, but what that does, this turnover rate creates leadership with very little experience in the future. And if you think about that, sergeants, lieutenants with 2, 3, 4 years of experience in some jurisdictions, in some police departments, in some fire departments, they'd still be considered a rookie. But in Brandon, they're a senior officer and they're ready for promotion. Now, I'm not saying that they don't do a great job. They do an amazing job. But we want to ensure that our police officers are a face that we know, that we get to know, that they get to know us. Unfortunately, Brandon, on the police department side, has become somewhat of a stepping stone. Many of you don't realize this, but we send our officers to the Mississippi Law Enforcement Officers Training Academy. Now, 16 years ago, this academy cost about $5,000. Nowadays, I'm sure it's more. And what you're seeing is non-certified officers are coming to the city of Brandon. They're getting certified. We're paying $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 to have them certified, and they're not enjoying their job here. They're not fulfilling what they want to do in life, and they're not getting paid well. Their equipment's not well, so they leave. And we have to pay another $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 to train somebody else. That's a problem. We need to work to restructure these departments in a way that's beneficial, that promotes a more positive work environment for these individuals. We also must look at a plan and set a plan in place to help get our pay up to par with surrounding agencies. Now, whenever I speak to police and fire, I'll make sure I tell them right out the gate, if I'm elected mayor, I can't walk in, wave a wand, and give everybody a raise. It's not going to happen. But what I can assure you is that we will develop a plan, an incentive plan, to maintain the personnel that we have. We will work hard to turn the morale around to be able to fill the empty positions that we have now and become full staff. Now, like other candidates have said, another major issue is infrastructure. Many people I speak to throughout the city of Brandon, they talk about the water infrastructure, the leaks, things of that nature. That is a real issue. In dealing with these problems, that goes along with my conservative platform as well, and transparency. We've all seen there's a big name construction company that's getting a lot of the work around Brandon, and that's great. They do a great job. My concern is, are we getting bids in order to assure that this work is awarded the most efficient way possible for our tax dollars. We don't know that. We don't know if it is because there's not enough transparency. Anybody who's been to a city hall meeting can tell you that when you go to the city hall meeting, you're going to be asked to leave at some point for an executive session. What that is, it's not open to the public, and they go back and they make decisions in those executive sessions that we don't hear about, we don't know. When they decide to go forward with an item on the agenda, it is executed as per memo. The memo is not attached to the agenda, to the minutes. We don't know what the memo says. We need more transparency in our government. We need to see where our tax dollars are spent. What's surprising about this well-known construction company that's doing a lot of work in our city is they were recently outbid on a downtown Brandon water improvement project by $839,000. Now that's alarming to me. That's very alarming. Because if they're being outbid by $839,000 on one project that was open to the public for bidding, how high are they on every other project that's not open to the public for bidding? And that's what we need to know. And we don't right now. Under my administration, I pledge to be a more transparent official, more conservative. Also, I pledge to be the face of the city, to showcase our city, to bring in more investments, to provide more substantial sales tax revenue increases so that hopefully we can lessen the burden of tax dollars on the homeowners. Under my administration, I pledge to listen to the public. Not only the public, but business owners. We need to be more of a partner with business owners. We need to listen to our business owners. I also pledge to revisit and revise the current and past ordinances, regulations, permitting issues that have hindered our growth in the past. I can't tell you how many times I've spoke to business owners outside the city of Brandon who have said, we tried to come to Brandon first, but there's always a but. We tried to bring our business to Brandon first, but that's not good. We've got to change that landscape. We've got to change that appearance. The thing that I'm most excited about in this campaign is that every candidate that's gotten up here and spoken before me has said basically the same thing. And the citizens of the city of Brandon should be excited about that as well. We hear you. We hear your problems. We hear your concerns. We're living it with you. On April 6th, I ask for your vote, for your support. Bo Lucky for mayor. A voice for you so the city of Brandon can move forward together. Thank you.
Thank you, Bo. Again, thank you to all of the candidates for coming out tonight. Thank you for everybody that came to listen to their speeches. Thank you to everybody watching live. We are going to have the candidates stay around for about 15 minutes if you would like to go around and speak with them. And please go vote on April the 6th. If you need to set a reminder on your phone, put a sticky in your car, whatever you need to do, be sure and go vote. Thank you.